Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, the place for women entrepreneurs, authors, and self-starters looking to build community and gain valuable insights through expert interviews with women at the top of their game. Join your host, podcaster, producer, expert coach, entrepreneur, and author, Dr. Summer Watson, as she aims to inspire and empower you through these candid conversations. Lean in and embrace the journey. It's time to start the show. Here's your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Today, I'm joined by Amrita Mukherjee, who is a global speaker, executive coach, author, and founder of SHEvolution. Amrita's work centers on helping women build careers and lives defined by purpose, confidence, and impact. But her journey into leadership didn't begin in a boardroom. It was shaped through navigating early life challenges, personal loss, and high-pressure global corporate environments. Growing up in a home marked by emotional complexity and later experiencing the loss of her sister, Amrita developed a deep awareness of human emotion and resilience at a young age. Those experiences didn't define her limit. They expanded her capacity to lead with empathy, clarity, and intention. In this conversation, we will explore what it truly means to lead with emotional intelligence, how resilience is built over time, how women can move from silent potential to visible impact in both their careers and lives. And we will talk about her two fictional novels, Avani, the Girl Who Found Her Voice, and She and Me. Welcome, Amrita.
Thank you so much, Summer. I'm so happy to be here. So excited.
I'm happy to have you on. So let's get right into this. But before we get into your professional journey, if you could describe your life in one word, what would that word be and why is that word important to you?
If I have to pick one word, then it has to be purpose. Because I feel once we are clear as human being what our purpose is at any given point in time, the course of action, we act, how we navigate, everything kind of fall in place. Everything gets guided by the purpose. And I think that's what has happened for me as well. My purpose was very different as a 5-year-old, as a 25-year-old. And now that I'm in my 40s, my purpose is different. But whatever we do is guided by that.
I love that purpose. That is so impactful. And let me ask you a question based on that answer. Because you did say at 5 years old, your purpose was different than when you were 20, than what it is now. But let me ask you, during that history of time from 5 to 20 to how old you are now, did those thoughts, ideas, that purpose, did that impact where you are today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And many times I get this question that do you feel that you took a wrong turn, you made a mistake or something like that? I say, you know what? The way I look at it is the learning that I had from it. What I learned from those scenarios, those events, those struggles, and everything I am today is a little bit of accumulation from all of it. So I'm grateful for that. I don't really look at it thinking, okay, I would change this or change that. Rather, I look at it as what I have learned and what can I do with it now to move forward.
I love that. That is such strong advice. And that's also strong internal motivation, right? Because rather than looking at things as mistakes, I always think they're gained wisdom.
Yes.
And that wisdom continues on with us, right? So nothing's a mistake. It's just that's what happened in our lives. And that's information we can take with us to maybe change the course of our lives, do something different, maybe do things that worked out well, again. So, yeah, I love that. So, in your bio, you've shared that your early life experiences shaped your emotional awareness in profound ways. How did those early environments influence the way you lead and connect with others today?
So we had to deal with some difficult scenarios. My father, he had some anger issues. When he was angry, he just didn't know what he was doing. We couldn't predict, right? This is something that's going to make him upset. So we would be always a little afraid. If we do this, what will happen? If we do that, what will happen? And in the midst of that, I had a very sick grandmother. My mom was taking care of her and all of that. So we had to be always very mindful, read the situation, like look at people and try to observe them very carefully and see, okay, you know what? This is not the right time to ask for something. Like if we are planning a trip or if we are planning to do something at school, tonight is not the time, right? Understanding that. And also sometime, you know what, instead of going and talking to my dad directly, we talk to my mom first, talk to somebody else who can convince him. So understanding and navigating situation very early on, I learned that. And in fact, I would say it's very similar even if we are in corporates. We need to do something very similar. We need to learn to observe people and respond accordingly. We need to keep our outcome in mind instead of just letting the emotion, our anger or frustration take the best of us. We need to really keep the outcome in vision and act accordingly. And that can happen with only emotional awareness.
Absolutely. And again, skills we build throughout our lives. And then we can apply those to our next steps, to the next situations, to the systems that we're in to better understand those systems, right? Or those folks. So you've navigated deeply personal challenges, including injury and loss alongside of a high performing corporate career. What did those environments teach you about leadership, especially when it comes to communication and trust?
Yes, I think because you mentioned about my injury, right? So when I had that accident and I had to stay away from work for months, and then the overall recovery actually took more than a year, I learned a lot about trust at that point, like, and learned to understand whom you can trust and whom you cannot, right? Their responses, the way they reached out to me, their gestures at that moment taught me a lot about how to read people. So that's an important lesson that I think I learned during that phase, the recovery phase especially. And during my leadership experience of many years and very tense moments, what I have seen is that not responding immediately, sometimes just letting things sink in and decide what's the best course of action based on the outcome that we are looking for. That's the right thing to do instead of just sometimes I say that, okay, when you get email, the emails don't have emotion. It's either the reader's emotion or the writer's, right? When you're writing, it's your emotion. Whoever is reading, it's theirs. So you don't want an email to land on someone's mailbox when maybe, let's say, they didn't have their breakfast or maybe had a bad mood in the morning and whatnot, right? So sometimes talking to them directly is better. So all of these are small things. It looks small, but I think they can have profound impact in the way we build relationship, especially in a global environment where there's a lot of cultural nuances. There are a lot of differences in the way people work and expect things to happen. So yeah, I think these were some of the more prominent ones. And I think from personal loss, especially losing my sister, who was just about a year and a half older than me, I think that forced me to think about and reflect on what's most important, what really matters in life. And life is so fragile, right? We can't even possibly see, okay, what is going to happen tomorrow? And we are planning for like 20 years ahead, right? So at this point, I felt like, okay, you know what? What do I really want to see myself doing for the next 10, 20 years? Is it that only I'll be spending all my time at work? And maybe I'll have titles, bank account and whatnot, but would I feel at peace? Would I be happy? And I think those were very reflective moments where I did a lot of self exploration and got a lot of answers, which I wouldn't have found otherwise.
Well, I'm going to walk you back just a little bit because you did mention an accident. You did mention the loss of your sister. Can you tell us a little bit more about the accident, about the loss of your sister? Because I think those experiences impact us in incredible ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It was 2017 when I met with a severe burn injury. So I was just in the kitchen. It was a special day. I was actually expecting a lot of guests. It was a ceremony for my son. And so I was wearing an Indian attire. I was wearing a sari, a beautiful sari, which caught fire. And I suffered like 33% second degree burn in both my legs. And without my husband and his cousin sister, I wouldn't be alive today. Right. So I think this is my second chance. I always think that. And it was like 30 to 50 seconds. But when you see flames all around, I don't think our brain works anymore. So water was right in front of me, but I didn't even reach for it. So my husband came running and he just dragged me and poured water on me. And even when I was in the hospital, there were multiple days when I was kind of overhearing the conversation between the nursing staff and the doctors and everything. There was a feeling like maybe I will not make it. But then I kept on telling myself that my son is just 2 year old. I need to do it. I need to get back on my foot as soon as I can. And I think that motivated me quite a lot. That helped me work on myself. I just had my mind to work with, to be honest, right? I was mostly lying down all the time. The mind is so powerful. At that moment, I put all my energy in thinking what I'm going to do to recover, get back on my feet, and just do everything I need to do to be available for my family and my kids. So I think that was an immense learning, I would say, and
Yeah.
an experience I would not forget. But the way I see it is like, without that, I wouldn't have looked at life the way I do today. The importance, the relationships, the way I would nurture them, the way I would think about them would be very different in absence of that one incident. Yes, I had to go through pain, but I think it was necessary.
It's stories like yours that give people hope, that inspire others, because there are some people who might have been in the same situation and not gotten back up or not had that glimmer of light, right? And yet you had that strong, intense feeling of survival, but also, getting through it to thrive and see your son and raise your son and love and nurture your family. And that was your glimmer of hope, your glimmer of light. And so stories like these absolutely inspire others to have that light, to think about not just internalize what's happening, but externalize like, okay, there's hope. There's a way to overcome this. And so thank you for sharing that story. I know it's a difficult one. And when we experience trauma, we could get stuck in it or we can move through the experience to the other side. So, with some insight, with some wisdom, and with some grace, where we can say, okay, we made it, and now this is my opportunity. Here's my purpose, right? And then you did lose a sister. And so, how did that change how you navigated or saw the world as well?
So, my sister had a very serious injury when she was 17, when she was very young. She had to go through a very challenging time, lots of surgeries and so on and so forth to get back on her feet and really do something. So that had a serious impact, and we knew that she had a lot of physical difficulties and all. But we didn't know that we would lose her so early. When that happened, I was actually in a meeting that morning, right? And I keep on getting called for my brother, and I was just disconnecting it, right? Why is he calling me in the work hours? I don't want to talk to him right now. And I couldn't even possibly thought about it, right? So then my husband walks in and said that you have to disconnect the call right now. And then I sensed there's something wrong. So I immediately disconnected the call, and he told me that this has happened. And she was sick. She suffered a major heart attack. And by the time medical support was available, she was already gone. So when we went, it was in a different city. So I flew down that night. And in that moment, I was just like, okay, you know what? There's no guarantee for anything in life. There's nothing that you can plan for. I used to get very upset. I'm very methodical about planning. So when I used to plan an event or a vacation or something, whenever something goes wrong, I used to get very upset. Events like this have taught me, like, even life is unpredictable. And what am I planning for? Let me enjoy the moment that I have. Let me live every moment as if this is the best I could possibly have.
Yeah.
And everything naturally became very different. It's funny, right? Afterwards, I went for a vacation. We were in Disneyland and we had a ticket for wrong day, right? If it was 10 years ago, I would be very, very upset. I would start like becoming very angry or upset or something. But I was very cool. I was totally fine. And I just went up to the guy and talked to him. You know what? We're coming all the way from India. Can you do something? And he actually did. And we went in and we spent the day there. But the point is that, yes, I lost my sister. No one can fill that place. Her leaving us has taught me a lesson that is that take life with more joy, more gratitude each and every day. Don't complain. You would find 100 things to complain about, but 150 things to be grateful for. Just look at the right side.
Yes, I love that. So you do talk about emotional intelligence as a critical leadership skill. In your experience, what separates leaders who truly connect and influence from those who don't?
Yeah, I think every human relationship is emotional. It's not, when we say it's personal, it's professional, at the end of it, it's emotional, right? At what emotional level do we connect with our team member versus our family member? It's slightly different, but it's an emotion nevertheless. The leaders who truly understand their people, they know what motivates them, what triggers them, what upsets them, and they know just the right word to say so that they can do their best. And the leaders who are just focused on the outcome and not really focusing on the people who are going to get that outcome, they struggle way more, right? In the process of getting that outcome, there is a lot of friction. Sometimes they lose good people, and all of that happens. But when they connect with the individual at a emotional level and try and understand what would make this person trigger and take the accountability, everything changes.
Wonderful insight, because I agree, we all as humans have emotions, right? And how we connect and feel a sense of belonging makes a huge impact. It's not the outcome will come. But when you have that connection, you understand each other's emotions. That is the biggest leadership opportunity. And so I think a lot of people forget about it because we're thinking about the outcomes, from a year, from 5 years, from 10 years, as you said, right? And sometimes we forget what's right in front of us and that we are working with human beings and we all have emotions. And as you said earlier, with the emails, we don't know if somebody didn't have their coffee or their breakfast or their lunch or what side of the bed they woke up on, essentially, you know? So that connection, that phone call, that meeting might be better than an emotionless email.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Amrita, you have so many incredible skills and passions. Let's talk about your passion for storytelling. You are the author of two fictional novels, Avani, the Girl Who Found Her Voice, a story of finding strength, love, and a lost dream, and the book She and Me. Tell us more about these books.
Yeah, so Avani is my first book. And in that book, I tried capturing a few different emotions. First is a very, like you can say, average, common girl from a middle class Indian family coming and living a dream that was not truly her dream, but she felt that it is meeting the societal success standard list. She ticked all the check boxes. So she was appreciated for it. So, but there was confusion. Sometime when we are told that we are good at something, we start believing that that's what we are here to do. That's not necessary. Just because we are good at something does not mean that's the only thing that we would want, right? That's a confusion, I think. And then when she meets with a injury, a big accident where actually she loses her ability to speak, it completely changes her identity, right? The job, the relationship, everything kind of shifts. And from that moment, how she rediscovers her true passion, her dream, and creates a new identity for herself. That's the journey that I have captured in the first book. And the second one is, as the cover also shows, there are two women. One is an American expert who's living in India, another is an Indian homemaker, and they bump into each other in a Bangalore traffic, which is a famous traffic, by the way. Uh, so they bump into each other. There was a small accident, and their accidental friendship, as I said, they were never meant to meet each other, but they did. And when they met, what they figured is they're more similar than different. Their desires, their aspirations, their vision, their goal, there are more similarity than differences. We think that we are all different, but I actually feel that we are more similar inside than we are different. There are differences which are obvious on the outside, and how they went on to pursue their life of passion and purpose. So that's the journey that I capture in my second book.
Oh my goodness. I love the premise of both books. How fantastic. You've done so much to include writing and also into building SHEvolution. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so when I was in my corporate career, I have always seen there are a lot of talented, aspirational women, but they are not reaching their full potential, not because of their skill or ability, of course, but because how they show up and how they are perceived, because they are not managing their perception intentionally. And that's something I have mentored few women all across the globe. But when I was doing that, being in my corporate job, that was like more like a nice to do thing. But then I realized that if I really want to make a difference, I can't do this just one off. I have to do this full time. And that's when I decided to set up something like SHEvolution, which is a coaching and mentoring platform for working women. Anyone who wants to, even if you're an entrepreneur or you're doing a job, doesn't matter. Like your industry doesn't matter. There are few common themes: how you show up, how you present. Like if you want a leadership role, you need to show up as a leader even before you have the role. So understanding something like that and working on it is something I help women with as part of that platform. So that is something I started in December 2024, after like 6 months after leaving my corporate career.
Wow, you have done so much, and we've talked about quite a bit in a short time. So, as we come to the close of the interview, for women who feel capable but maybe unseen or unsure how to move forward, what is the one step they can take this week to begin showing up with more clarity, confidence, and intention?
Sure. The first step that I would recommend anyone to take is to give yourself some quiet time. Close your eyes and see yourself 5 years into the future. Talk to your older, wiser self and see what they are guiding, suggesting. How do you want to see yourself? And then the path will show up. When we know where we are headed, we just need to focus on the next milestone. We don't have to know the whole path. We don't need to know the whole route. We will get guidance along the way, but we need to know our destination. And this is where I see a lot of the women are struggling. They are doing their daily things, they're busy, they're hustling, but they don't know where they're headed and what's waiting on at that point. So I would say just close your eyes, look at your future self, and the guidance will come. Your intuition will guide you in the journey.
Mm. Thank you, Amrita, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Summer.
It's been a pleasure. You can connect with Amrita Mukherjee on LinkedIn, Instagram, and at thrivingwomenstribe.com. And you can also find her books on Amazon.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast with Dr. Summer Watson. We're so glad you're here and would love to connect more with you. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Core Women, and on Twitter at Core Women 1. For more about Core Women and Dr. Watson, visit corewomen.com. Want more support and resources for amazing women like you? Great! Join Dr. Watson and Jen Fontanilla at the Life, Love, and Money Collective, a Core Women production that aids in understanding the key traits that might be getting in the way of living a life that you are absolutely passionate about. Connect with Summer and Jen and find out more at thelifeloveandmoney.com.